CoSeCity, the podcast where we make corporate governance real, practical, and dare I say, interesting. I'm Neo.
And I'm Kako. Welcome to CoSeCity, produced by Bloomsbury Institute. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And if you've been with us from the first episode, would like to say thank you for coming back again. We've already unpacked why governance matters. We've broken down the core principles that every organization should live by. And today
we're turning the spotlight onto ESG. That is environmental, social, and governance. So ESG isn't just a buzzword. It is central to responsible leadership and boardroom decision making. That's why we're calling this episode the ESG Imperative. How company secretaries drive sustainability, I beg your pardon, and ethical governance.
Let's be honest, ESG factors are no longer optional, I would say, Neo. They are critical to assessing a company's commitment to sustainability and the company's ethical behavior as well. They are non-financial metrics used by various stakeholders, from investors to regulators. I mean, the list is endless.
Yep.
And these are used to evaluate how companies are run, what the company's values are, and companies are also held accountable using these metrics. And guess what? The CoSec, Company Secretary, is right in the middle of it, and hence why we're discussing it today.
Yep, slap bang in the middle of it. So yeah, let's start right at the top. So what exactly is ESG? I would say think of it as a framework that evaluates how a company interacts with the environment, how it treats its people, and governs itself. It's built on three core elements, which we will discuss in more detail. Kako, would you like to kick us off with the first one?
Of course, ESG. The E is for environmental. This considers a company's impact on the climate, on the planet, covering carbon emission, resource consumption, waste management, and also the critical one, pollution. It's about promoting sustainable practice, reducing emission, and operational efficiency. In other words, minimizing environmental harm whilst maximizing resource efficiency. A company that does this well, for example, would say is Unilever, a global consumer good. They're a giant, and they have an impressive sustainability plan. The Unilever has committed to help protect and restore 1 million hectares of natural ecosystem by 2030. So that's a phenomenal example, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant, honestly. And then I guess the next one is S, which stands for social. So at its core, this is about people. So it includes how a company supports its workforce, ensures ethical labor practices, promotes diversity, something that's very close to my heart, and contributes to the communities that it operates in. I think on the social front, a company that does this well is McCain, the chip company. Thought I'd slip that one in there because I absolutely love chips.
Yum.
So they have made a commitment to educating the next generation about food and farming through their partnership with Earth Cubs. So they use animated storytelling to teach children about regenerative agriculture and the journey from farm to fork, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a creative way to inspire sustainability and food awareness amongst young learners.
Yeah, and then the final alphabet there in ESG, the G is for governance. This refers to the system, structures, principles, policies that guides a company, spanning board oversight, risk management, remuneration policies, transparency, and also ethical conduct of that business. In other words, all the stuff we're passionate about at CoSeCity and as company secretaries. Take Diageo, for example, a global alcoholic beverage company, frequently recognized for its strong governance framework, demonstrating high standards in board independence, executive accountability, transparent reporting, and ethical business conduct. Its commitment to robust internal controls and stakeholder engagement consistently earns top marks from governance rating agencies and institutional investors as well.
Yeah, no. And I guess just speaking about the rating agencies, I suppose this is the part where we highlight that a lot of companies are increasingly engaging with these rating agencies by voluntarily disclosing, might I add, their ESG data, which of course then, as you've highlighted, helps stakeholders rate whether they are actually doing good.
It does. So why does ESG matter?
Well, I would say it's because investors, regulators, employees, and even customers are increasingly integrating ESG factors into their decision making. So viewing a strong ESG performance as an indicator of long-term value, or long-term performance, should I say. I have previously held roles where I was required to take questions from institutional investors, especially about what we're doing as a company year on year to improve our ESG factors. And I tell you, they give you a good grilling, and rightfully so. And as I say, they want to know if the companies that we're working within are doing actually what they're supposed to be doing.
It also emphasizes the importance of reporting, as we discussed in previous episodes as well. And for our listeners, if you haven't heard the first 2 episodes, please go back and listen and give them a good listen. But also from a risk point of view, ESG blind spots can be very costly. This is from lawsuits, fines, brand damage, reputational damage, and it can even cause companies to be delisted from stock exchanges.
Which is something we never want.
No, we don't.
So yes, I think that is a good highlight of why ESG is a compliance issue. Well, not only a compliance issue, but a leadership issue.
Yeah.
So we are expected to help boards from top to bottom make sure that their impact is real on this.
Yeah, you're right. Company secretaries and CoSecs, we're expected to help boards through this. So let's talk about what this looks like in practice. What is the company secretary's role in ESG? Where does the company secretary actually fit in all of this? Before we answer that, however, I'd like to invite our listeners to consider this. Do you think boards view ESG as strategic or just compliance paperwork?
Ooh.
Ponder on that one.
Well, in answer to your previous question, Kako, I think company secretaries fit in everywhere, honestly, because we're helping boards understand ESG risks and opportunities. We're also helping them embed ESG into their board agendas and ensure that policies and practices actually reflect the company's values, not what is just legally required. So we are avoiding the bare minimum.
Yeah. And essentially it starts with education. Many board members are not ESG experts. You just can't be an expert in everything. So the company secretary plays a huge role in sourcing relevant information, briefing the boards, and helping directors interpret sustainability reports or stakeholder feedback. And essentially as well, one thing I'd love to emphasize is the importance of horizon scanning. We're in a space where regulations are ever evolving,
very
quickly, exactly, and to understand what's on the horizon, changes that are about to come, and get ahead of them adds immense value to the boardroom.
Yeah, very true. And then there is integration. So ESG can't be a standalone report filed once a year. It needs to be woven into board strategy, the risk registers, the KPIs, and committee structures. So this requires company secretaries to stay vigilant to any issues, either public or internal, that could undermine the organization's stated culture, values, or ethics.
Yeah.
In many ways, company secretaries act as the conscience of the organisation. I mean, we have been given a lot of names for sure, but I think conscience sits very well, don't you think?
I think it does. And another role that we can support with is also reporting. And it's not just about ticking boxes here. It means actively reviewing the governance framework to ensure that policies and procedures reflect the board's actual decisions on ESG. Not just what sounds good in statements and in reports. We also play a key role in aligning disclosures with frameworks like the Global Reporting Initiative, GRIs, or TCFD, which is the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, or even relevant local laws. Why does that matter? It matters because transparent, credible reporting isn't optional. It's the foundation of trust with regulators, for investors, and also stakeholders at large.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked on ESG governance roadmaps, for example, that introduce whistleblower policies and supply chain audits. Not so glamorous, but I tell you, it's very important. It's right at the core. So.
It's crucial, isn't it?
Yes, you have to lay the foundations.
Definitely, it's crucial. And I've seen company secretaries shift boards thinking from tick box to impact-driven a mindset, asking what legacy are we leaving. That's real governance, if you ask me.
Yeah, good challenge, I would say.
Yeah.
Good challenge. So I suppose moving on to our next section then, we want to get a bit more specific. So what structures actually support ESG in corporate governance?
Yeah. That is a good question to ask. And many companies are evolving board committees, adding committees like the ESG committees to existing ones, or launching standalone ESG committees. It's a trend we have been observing recently, haven't we?
Yeah, 100%. And even if there isn't a standalone ESG committee, the responsibility still needs a clear home. So whether it's under risk, audit, or remuneration, we've talked about making sure that people understand what they're doing in previous episodes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what matters the most really is making sure that it is owned, that it's monitored, and it doesn't get buried under the noise, which is very, very easy if things don't have a home. You're
right, because policies and code of conduct are also critical. ESG touches procurement, travel, treatment of employees. The impact and the involvement of ESG in the business is vast. The CoSec ensures that these are documented and implemented with clear policies attached to them.
Yeah, for sure. And then let's not forget stakeholder engagement.
Yeah.
So it's more than just communication. It's about helping boards truly understand who their key stakeholders are, what they expect, and how companies' decisions impact them. So just getting a little bit technical, under Section 172 of the Companies Act of 2006, directors have a duty to promote the success of a company while having regard to their stakeholders. So this will span from employees, suppliers, customers, and communities. So as governance professionals, we need to ensure that this duty is embedded into board discussions, decision making, and long-term strategy. It's not just left in a policy document.
Yeah. And I think Section 172 Director Duty that you mentioned, Section 172, deserves its own episode. So we'll see if we can touch on that later, because I think it's quite central in directors who are ultimately responsible for decision making and oversight in a company, that we understand their responsibilities and their duties. And from what you just mentioned, your case in point is, as you said, is Unilever's board, and how they've embedded stakeholder dialogue directly to their ESG governance. And finally, on this topic, we should also touch performance tracking. ESG goals deserve the same rigor and board level scrutiny as, say, financials or other issues that we give this same level of attention to. It's the company secretary who helps set the rhythm in many cases. Are we on track as a business? Are we shifting? What needs to be challenged? Because without accountability, ESG risks becoming just another set of good intentions.
Sadly, yeah. And it's not just about tracking for the sake of it. It's about measuring what actually matters. So are the metrics aligned with our strategy? Do they reflect impact or not just activity? And if we're not hitting these targets, is the board prepared to adapt? ESG performance needs to influence decisions, not just appear on a slide once a quarter.
You're right. And let's be real, it comes with its challenges, and there are some realities we need to acknowledge as well, because driving ESG as a company secretary isn't easy.
Definitely one of the biggest challenges I think we've come across. It's not always smooth, is it?
No.
And some boards might see it as a passing trend or something only large corporations need to worry about. And then others, of course, push back because of the lack of resourcing, or they just don't simply see it as integral to their business strategy. Of course, that mindset can be risky, but ignoring ESG today just means falling behind tomorrow. I think especially with consumer trends that we see from day to day. I think a lot of my friends for sure tend to check even the smallest things, like, for example, if their cotton t-shirt was ethically made, where the cotton comes from, it's very much becoming important.
And there's several, issues that has been brought to the fore in recent years that are, especially from the societal and governance perspective, we've seen companies have issues with regards to how they go about carrying their business. But there's tension between profit and purpose, isn't there, Nail? Sometimes you'll challenge decisions that look good on paper, but miss ethical targets. How do you think CoSeC can navigate that space?
Gosh, I think it's about tabling matters and making sure that matters are actually discussed in board meetings. But again, as we say, ultimately, as company secretaries, whilst we don't make decisions, it is definitely within our bag to make sure that directors know what they're doing understand the impacts of their decisions.
Yeah, you're right.
So I guess the only thing we can do is table it, and as long as we can document that, something was discussed in great detail.
I totally agree with that 100%.
Yeah, true. And then there is the issue of data quality, which is often the Achilles heel of ESG reporting. Especially when you're dealing with global operations, inconsistent metrics and fragmented systems.
And the thing is, we don't have to do this alone, I think. So collaboration is key, going back to your previous point. The company secretary can ultimately be a very effective bridge, pulling together legal, HR, sustainability, directors as a body, investor relations, whoever needs to drive the momentum. We can be an effective bridge, bridging all these different fragments of a company together. Even in smaller organizations, it's about starting where you are and building on from there.
Yeah, definitely. One of my friends absolutely loves this phrase. Teamwork makes the dream work.
I think I've heard you use that several times.
Yeah, so you have to lead with what you've got. So map your company's impact, review existing policies, and get ESG on the board agenda. progress doesn't come from perfection, it comes from persistence.
Yeah, you're right. And as we wrap up, it's worth touching the future of ESG and the governance professional. One thing is absolutely clear, though. Despite the noise that we've been hearing and some pushback in some pockets, ESG is simply not going away.
Nope. It's here to stay.
Yeah, it's definitely I would say it's becoming a defining part of leadership. Even the governance professionals and company secretaries, we play a central role in making it work. We play a significant role in not just driving the narrative, but also ensuring that boards are kept true. And I love the example you mentioned earlier. As CoSecs, we are ultimately the conscience of a company.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we are uniquely placed to bring ESG to life. So we understand structures, compliance, and people, which, it's a tall order, but somebody has to do it.
Yeah, 100%. And as governance professionals, CoSecs, your voice really matters. Whether challenging unethical decisions or building frameworks that support long-term impact, you are shaping the future and the sustainability of that company ultimately.
Yeah, 100%. And as for companies that deprioritize ESG, I mean, they won't fall behind, but rather they'll just become irrelevant. Investors
the
are
companies,
watching.
You mean?
Yeah, companies.
Okay. Yeah.
So investors are watching, regulators are tightening their belts, employees are choosing value over vanity. So I think that says a lot in itself.
Definitely. And you find institutional investors even, attaching and prioritizing ESG metrics in their decision making. So it's moving just from a wishy-washy, we're doing this out of the goodness of our hearts, to being, fundamental requirement for the survival of said business. Let's lead from the middle. We hold a very important space. Let's push ESG beyond buzzwords and embed them into board decisions and organizational culture, not just in a fleeting passing moment, but for good. And also we see emerging trends like AI-powered ESG data platform. These are making reporting more dynamic and predictive. So I would say for all CoSecs, just watch this space, because there's a lot of changes happening, and these are all exciting, aren't they, Neil?
Definitely. And that is it for today's episode. So the ESG imperative. We looked at what ESG really means, why it matters, and why company secretaries are quietly but powerfully shaping the future through sustainability and ethical governance. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that episode, Neil. I really enjoyed that episode. And if you've ever wondered whether a governance professional can drive real change, the answer ultimately, as we've discussed in this episode, is an emphatic yes. And ESG is one of the most dynamic, high-impact areas to do it.
Yeah, I think if we had more time, for sure, we'd probably be talking about it forever, hey?
Yeah, I felt we could have gone in deeper, but for the time constraint we had, I think we've done justice to this topic, haven't we?
I think we have, yes. And next time on CoSeCity, we're diving into technology. So how tools like AI and digital platforms are changing the face of governance, from compliance to transformation. We'll break it all down.
Yeah, and our next episode is called Tech, Trends and Corporate Governance. Please do not miss it. We're talking about board portals to AI to bots and so much more.
So subscribe, share and message us. We'd love to hear from you, especially on this last topic as well.
Yeah, so see you all in the next episode. Thank you.